I'm going to begin, Joe, just by asking, what was it initially attracted you to getting involved in Harriet?
Initially, I think I was just struck and amazed by the story. I didn't know anything about her, really. I'd heard of her name, and I'd seen the kind of older, iconic image of her. But she's not someone I was taught about in school growing up, and I don't think is really on the curriculum here in schools. And in America is obviously a hugely important figure, and everyone learns about her and knows about her, understandably so. So it's just about being a part of telling her story for the first time. I don't think there's been a film made about her, and then of course on top of that, you know, with the people attached, and particularly Cynthia taking the lead, it was just, it was an exciting prospect.
Do you think we're under-taught things like this at school? Because I could name you every one of Henry VIII's wives. Actually, don't quiz me on that. But there was a point, Mike, and I felt like we learn a lot about kind of Tudors and monarchy and stuff like that. But we don't learn too much about. I didn't know anything about much of this kind of the slavery time, and then also just the civil rights movement and stuff like that. Do you think in England we could do with shaking things up a bit on the?
Yeah, I mean, this is like I guess a perfect example. I was shocked that I didn't know anything about her. She really was the most amazing person, and what she stood for and what she did and achieved, and the strength that she showed and just how important she was. I was shocked, and you hope that it would be somewhere in some way widened to a kind of international curriculum.
So I mean, because obviously you're playing this role here, and when you're having to say some of the things that he had to say, and hearing the way some of the people would speak to other people, I mean, did it make it really even harder to believe? I mean, obviously it's hard to believe anyway for people like me and you that all of this sort of went on. But when you're sort of there embodying a character who's having to speak and think this way, was it quite overwhelming in that regard?
Yeah, definitely. It's also just tricky to connect to these kind of characters because there's pretty much nothing to connect to. What they did is completely repulsive and unimaginable. So trying to find a way in is tricky. And I suppose the answer is, for my character or Jennifer, who plays my mum, or people involved in the family, you have to just kind of dig into them and see what kind of human elements you can find inside them. So for Gideon in particular, I think it's that sense of deep, not understood feeling buried deep down and confusion, and I think he's very tangled inside about what he feels about Harriet, and whether he loves her or not, or whatever that is. I don't think there was a language in him or a language then that kind of allowed for it, and so I think he's someone who's deeply, deeply confused, and that's what you kind of had to try and latch onto.
And what was it like working with Casey on this project? Is it Casey, isn't it? Have I said that right? Yeah, because she obviously, it's an incredibly well-made film, and she seems like a really sort of great voice in cinema at the moment. What was she like to collaborate on this?
She was great. Yeah, she's was incredibly passionate about the project. Knew what she wanted, but not in such a kind of dogmatic way that she wasn't open to ideas and other people's suggestions. And she was amazing.
And so I was interviewing Harris Dickinson yesterday, I was quizzing him on the Souvenir Part 2, and he told me absolutely nothing. So I thought I'd give you a go. Mm-hmm. Can you? How did you fit into that sequel? Are you allowed to say?
He probably knows more than I do, I think, because I only popped in for a few days on that. And you're not. I mean, there is no script for Joanna Hogg's films. You're just you improvise, and you're given a template for the scene. So I have no idea what happens in the rest of the film, really. And I was only there for a couple of days.
But did you saw the first one? Was you a big fan?
Yeah,
that must be quite cool to get involved in something where you kind of, it's already the groundwork is there, isn't it? In other words.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to make more of it than it is because I really was only there for a few days on it. But I love Joanna's films, and I'd met her and had spoken about working together, and this was already set up and cast, but she wrote a small part for me to go in and do. So I'm just a massive fan of her films.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey